Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Ayes and welcome to my YouTube channel. One of the most well-known first-person shooter franchises in gaming is Halo. Starring Master Chief and the AI companion Cortana, the Halo games have generally focused on an experience with a heavy lore and one that allows you to run, drive around, and kill hostile foes in both linear and semi-open world levels. The first three games are revered by the majority of the player base, but the adoration for the series started to catch some flack once the role of the developers shifted from Bungie, which is nowadays known for the two Destiny titles, to 343 Industries, who are responsible for Halo 4, Halo 5, and today's highlighted video game. Halo 4 was received with mixed reactions. Some loved it, including yours truly, who still places it as his favorite Halo title. Some hated it. Nevertheless, a good number of gamers came to a consensus when it comes to Halo 5, which was bashed for misleading advertisements, a multiplayer that has several flaws, and a story where you barely play as the kick-ass Spartan himself. After many delays, 343 Industries' latest crack at one of Microsoft's flagship series has come out, and it once again places you in the shoes of the Master Chief. How does it fare against Halo 4 and 5? Does it dethrone the former as my favorite Halo game of all time? Time to find out. Without further ado, let's review Halo Infinite, which was released this year and for the purpose of transparency was played on the Xbox Series S through the Game Pass subscription-based service. Story. I would like to preface this section by saying that this review will not contain any major spoilers whatsoever to Halo Infinite. However, it will include slight spoilers to Halo 5's ending. If you have not played Halo 5, please skip to the time frame that is posted on your screen right now. Again, this part of the critique will cover slight spoilers for Halo 5. You've been warned, let's go. Halo Infinite's tale continues where Halo 5 left off. Shocker, I know. Cortana has gone rogue because of her ambitious desire to control all living beings, and Master Chief is sent to stop her. The dangerous Spartan has the same mission in the latest title, but two changes have taken place since his last journey. First, you have the Banished, who is an alien species that was the centerpiece of Halo Wars 2 and is back at full swing on the offensive against the hero. In addition, Chief is now paired with another AI called the Weapon, who is voiced by the same voice actress as Cortana herself. Master Chief's attempt to fight against the Banished and find Cortana, including his relationship with the Weapon, are fantastic, particularly the latter point. Assuming you played the previously released Halo titles, the antagonist is arguably the most fleshed out and menacing villain in our time with Xbox's IP over the years, but falls woefully short when compared to antagonists from other IPs, such as the Queen in Gears of War 3. Think about it this way. If I tell you that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is my favorite movie with Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, it does not mean much because, in my opinion, both films are mediocre at best. All in all, Halo Infinite's story is fantastic, and I'm very curious as to how it continues in Master Chief's next adventure. Visuals and audio design. I will get the bad aspect of the presentation out of the way first because I want to focus on the positive parts, and the nitpicking is one that unfortunately plagues the majority of open world experiences. Pop-in textures. It does not happen often when you are on foot or using the Grapple Hook, which we will discuss later. However, it becomes a common occurrence when you are flying around in the environments. I deal with it, but I can see many people who would be turned off by the existence of that nuisance. Now, let's move our shift on why I'd rather support Halo Infinite's presentation instead of destroying it with heavy criticism. First off, the character and object models are wonderful. There's a lot of detail in the design of each foe, ally, and piece of equipment, and I appreciate how built-in cutscenes incorporate the weapon that you equip to your character prior to the cutscene. The other praiseworthy feature of Halo Infinite is the environmental design, from collectible placements across the map to enemy placements and natural architectures. The world of Halo Infinite is gorgeous. Sadly, it is not all sunshine and rainbows. While the levels of Halo Infinite are nicely designed and spectacularly detailed, there is a serious lack of environment variety. The majority of your playthrough will place yourself either in various identical sections of the Halo ring, or underground stages that showcase the architecture of the creatures who previously lived on the ring. Halo Infinite is a superior title to Halo 5, but the latter unquestionably surpasses the former when it comes to the sheer diversity of environmental design. I'm not sure why it is a problem, considering games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and The Witcher 3 are also open world titles, yet you never have a feeling of deja vu in those games. Such is the case with Halo Infinite though. It is not a game-breaking problem, but it is something that will be impossible to miss. On a more positive note, the audio design of Halo Infinite is rather spotless. The series has always been known for incredible soundtracks, and the latest entry with Master Chief does not try to go against the grain. Every song is purposeful in its execution, whether it tries to amp you up for an upcoming fight or emphasize the emotional impact of the dialogue between two or more characters. The same adoration can also be aimed at the sound effects of the weapons, in addition to the voice performers. It will not surprise Halo fans when I say that the gameplay, which will be discussed shortly, is enhanced by the incredible sound design of anything with which you can interact in the environments, including vehicles, weaponry, and enemies. Furthermore, Steve Dowans and Jen Taylor as Master Chief and the weapon, respectively, continue to excel in their roles, even though Taylor's portrayal evokes a different personality for obvious reasons.
To fire this ring, they would need an activation index. Cortana had the index. I had parts of it as well.
Something stopped your deletion. We need to find out why.
But this wasn't the mission.
The missions change. They always do.
Are you sure?
As a whole, Infinite's presentation is stellar, and I hope that a sequel will shake up the roster of environments. Gameplay. Let me get something out of the way before we kick things off here. Halo Infinite has been delayed multiple times, and I appreciate 343 Industries and Microsoft's willingness to keep the title for a longer time in the oven. However, I think it could have used a bit more time on the fire for two reasons. On one hand, the ability to play the campaign cooperatively or play Forge mode at all is not available at this point in time. Those two features have become staples of the franchise, and it is a shame that they are nowhere to be found right now. On the other hand, the multiplayer mode of Infinite is free to play to Xbox and PC users. It may sound like a positive, but it infects the title with an issue that is present in free-to-play mobile games: microtransactions. Paying $10 plus for a customization item is utterly ridiculous, and that's not even the worst part. The worst part is how the sense of gimping the online experience to the players impacts the leveling up system. Allow me to give you an example. I started at level 1. I played 3 matches. I did really well in the first game, decently in the second game, and poorly in the third. Not only did I receive the same experience points for all 3 rounds, which does not make sense logistically, but I did not level up after the 3 matches. If it takes a while to level up from rank 1 to rank 2, imagine how long it will take to level up from rank 16 to rank 17. The microtransactions and the slow-paced nature of the progression system makes me wonder what could have been if the multiplayer wasn't free. Oh, by the way, you could not choose basic playlists such as Slayer and Team Slayer when Infinite launched. It has been fixed since then, but it was such a facepalm-worthy moment that I had to throw it in here. I know that I ranted for a bit about the gameplay, but rest assured that, as a whole, the gameplay is superb. Let me explain myself and we will discuss the campaign now. For the first time in the franchise's history, your journey in Halo takes place in an open world. You can perform one of 3 tasks. You can play through the story missions, which is self-explanatory. You can gather collectibles, which can be found by either naturally exploring the world or unlock bases that act like the radio towers in the Far Cry titles. Lastly, you can take on enemy strongholds, which give you credit to summon vehicles and weapons from unlocked bases. Moreover, they may host a secret fight against a powerful opponent. Speaking of which, I must tip my hat to 343 Industries for including the best boss battles in a Halo game. Every single one of them is excellent and forces you to traverse the landscape more carefully instead of standing in one spot and killing your opponent. More fundamentally, an improvement that is brought to the table with Halo Infinite is a Grapple Hook. You may unlock power-ups to replace a Grapple Hook, such as summoning a shield and dashing, but you will find the Grapple Hook to be incredibly useful for a multitude of reasons. You can use it to grab a weapon on the ground mid-fight and use it instantly. you can use it to bring yourself closer to an enemy for a devastating melee attack. You can use it to quickly move around the environments, which alleviates some of the pacing issues that I did suffer in the campaign mode while walking from point A to point B. The inclusion of the grappling hook is brilliant, and God bless whoever gave the green light to put it in a Halo game. All in all, the story mode of the campaign was a blast to complete. Fortunately, you also get access to an online component. The exceptional gunplay from the offline adventure is seamlessly carried over here, and it makes it one of my favorite Halo multiplayer experiences of all time. The animations are smooth, the time to kill timer is perfect, albeit questionable sometimes while punching an opponent, and the level design is rather great for the most part. I'm also glad to report that I have not experienced much of any lag, and I played on Wi-Fi instead of using an Ethernet cable. If it weren't for the microtransactions and a broken progression system, I would have played this mode daily. Instead, I will play it once a week, which is a lot for someone who usually despises anything with multiplayer. Halo Infinite's gameplay arguably crowns the game as the best first-person shooter title this year, and one which, in my opinion, will outlive its predecessor, that being Halo 5. Fun factor: I haven't had as much fun in a Halo game as I did here since Halo 4, which is my favorite title in the series. There were a few pacing issues in the story mode due to the open world nature of the experience, but I did not think about them by the conclusion of Chief's latest success. I also really like the multiplayer portion of Halo Infinite, even though I'm not a pro player by any stretch of the imagination. There are numerous multiplayer first-person shooters out there, and yet there's only one first-person shooter title that will be installed on my hard drive for the foreseeable future: Halo Infinite. Impressions on Xbox achievements. If you have played a Halo game from the Xbox 360 era onward, you know what to expect from the list of achievements in Halo Infinite. You have your story-based achievements, which you will get automatically upon the title's completion. You have your multiplayer-based missions, which task you to perform specific actions against human opponents, like killing an enemy with a melee attack while utilizing a bladed weapon. You have your difficulty-related achievements, the most famous of which requires you to beat the campaign on the legendary difficulty. Lastly, you have your miscellaneous tasks, which focus on random actions in and out of the campaign. Examples include using the theater sensor 50 times and trying a new weapon customization item. Earning 100% of the achievements is not an easy goal by any stretch of the imagination, but you're not going to mind it as long as you love the title's gameplay. When should you pick it up? This recommendation is quite easy. If you are only interested in the multiplayer component of Halo Infinite, you are in luck because it is currently free for everyone. If you would also like to add the campaign to your package, I would recommend that you would utilize the opportunity to get it for free via Game Pass and play it through that service. A $60 purchase for a title is a bit too much, considering you're only paying for the single-player component of the game and maybe future content that may or may not be included for free, like the online component. Halo Infinite is a great game and 343 Industries' product should be supported, but it is hard to avoid the financial restraints that are lifted off by 343 Industries themselves. In the end, Halo Infinite has allowed 343 Industries to regain my confidence in them as the company that is in charge of Master Chief's next adventure. The presentation and the gunplay are the best in the entire franchise. The story thankfully resolves the cliffhanger that was left from Halo 5. The multiplayer is superb, despite the inability to choose certain modes at launch that have been a staple of first-person shooters for years. Halo Infinite did not manage to knock out Halo 4 from its status as my favorite game in the series, but it certainly placed itself in the same vicinity as the two titles that capped Chief's story in their original trilogy. It is definitely a brilliant move by Microsoft to allow Game Pass users to play this title via Game Pass, and I can attest that these subscribers currently have access to a Game of the Year contender without spending another dime. I will give Halo Infinite from 2021 a 9.8 out of 10. Well folks, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for checking it out. What are your thoughts on Halo Infinite? Does it redeem 343 Industries after the backlash they have received for their other two mainline entries in the franchise? Or do you miss the days when Bungie was at the helm? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Till next time, have a great day or evening wherever you are. My name is AES, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.